I'm just going to tee this off and then pass the mic to Jordan, who's going to be our tour guide of Powur Vision, which is our new design proposal tool that has financing built into it. As of yesterday, March 13th, we are now live in California, Florida, and Texas. April 30th is the date where this should be rolling out to the rest of the country. If you look in Knowledge Base, if you click on content, you should have a training that you can go through. I think it's 30 minutes or so, maybe less than an hour. And you can get certified. And then in the platform, you will be able to request a vision proposal. So real quick, and then I'll hand this over to Jordan. This is why Powur built this, ultimately, so that we can be the masters of our own destiny. The proposal tool, the design of the proposal tool is really the most critical part of our selling process that we go through. And so that puts the power in our hands as sellers. And you can look through the rest of this, but really it's so that Powur has more control, so that we have more control. Transparency as well. And this is really going to help us as we move into rolling out enterprise as well. There's a lot of functionality. One interesting thing that you will note, right now, if you have multiple arrays on a roof, Vision automatically recognizes that, and you don't have to put in an extra adder for it. It just automatically knows that there's additional arrays. So that's one of the things, one of the examples of things that are going to be coming in the future with more automation, so that we can get to proposal faster in our designs. So this has been in development for 21 months, $4.2 million spent to get to market, over 2 million lines of code. Myself and Jordan, Jarrett, Bill Conley, Owen, who else? Jason, a bunch of us have been in the beta test. And so those proposals, let's say that 320 of those proposals in beta are Jordan Shaw's, and the rest of us have about 4 in there. I'm kidding. Bill Conley has done a bunch of them too. So this is a whole team at Powur that's been putting this together. It's just launching, and it's going to just get better from here. Like I mentioned, this is available right now in California, Texas, and Florida. 13th is the target for all major markets, and then it'll continue to get better from there. Big thank you, just shout out to Matt Gordon and everyone at Powur who has been building this thing together. It's a labor of love. And with that, I will pass it over to Tier 3 Jordan Shaw, who has been killing it and has been finding bugs in Powur Vision and sending that to the team. And I think is pretty excited about where we're headed with this. Jordan?
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. Yeah, I joked with Matt Gordon that I needed an award for most bugs found. He said he might be able to arrange that, but it's okay. Hey, that's the growing pains, right? When you're beta testing something like this, you have to be willing to go through those types of pains. And, coming from the world of IT, I was kind of used to that, even in a full-fledged GA release of a product. So what I wanted to do is really I'm truly excited about this, and I can't wait to show you this. I've been running a lot of numbers through this tool, and you're about to see why. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So I actually have a fresh proposal that just came back in from the design team. One of the things that you're going to continue to do with this proposal tool is still fill out your site info, update, get everything actually in there, right on, like make sure that everything is set properly, right, in this tool. And then that's the first step, right? As soon as you're done with filling the details, you're still going to be able to go over proposals and then request. Now it's grayed out right now just because I have already requested a proposal for this one, and that's okay. But over here on the left-hand side, you'll see, I'm not sure if you can read that, but it says that it says Vision real time as well as overnight. These are the two primary options, just like we had with Solo, where it was like immediate, real time, like this is urgent, to just, hey, get to this when you get to it. And when you request one of these options, it goes over to the Vision team to actually do the design work. Once it comes back in, you'll actually receive an email for that actual design. And actually, let me see if I can actually pull that up. because I just had, yeah, here we go. So check this out. So I just had this one come back in this morning, 2 hours ago. The design has been completed, right? And so with that, that lets you know that, you know, the design is set and ready to go. So just like we used to get, hey, your proposal has been completed through Solo, this is going to be the same type of mechanism, okay? And so when we come back over to here, when you'll go into proposals, you'll see that you have a proposal log just like you have any other time. And you'll have this vision.power.com proposal link. So you can either click there or you can actually click on the solar proposal itself. Clicking the solar proposal itself actually brings it open. It loads. If you notice, we had a nice little load screen there. And this is the proposal tool. And what I love about this tool is that you can, you know, start off with your client talking about, you know, their needs, figure out why they're going solar, right? And all of that. However, you're able to actually jump in and actually talk about Powur's story without necessarily having to reference other types of like assets. Basically, I still do like when the impact journey and things like that, of course, but what's nice about this is you're able to actually reference, you know, the increate, you know, status and what we're doing, prosperity homes and all of that, right? And this is a really neat and clean tool. It's going through different updates and evolving. But once you get this back, you'll get it back just like you normally would, where it's kind of max set as much as possible on the roof. So this is a relatively small need for a system for a customer I'm meeting with later today. And you'll notice that the system's already been designed. So with this, let me go ahead and actually go to the left-hand side here, and let's go over kind of some of the different adders here. So while this is all, you know, depending on how you want to jump into the proposal tool and start editing the design, or if you want to double check and make sure your adders are set, it's up to you. One of the first things I do is I just kind of go to edit the design, and then I'm able to at least then go and turn panels on and off. So the design will come back just pre-populated, okay? And if we do that, you'll notice we have different activations here. So I've got a pan, I've got a panel activator. This is easy. So this is what you're usually used to, right? And so in this sense, you can just deselect multiple, and you can actually even click and drag to deselect other ones. So it's very, very easy of a tool to actually use, just like you're normally used to. So this part's all easy, right? This is what we're used to being able to see. But what's the core meat of this, and if I hit save, you'll notice that the energy offset and all of that actually updates on the bottom side, okay? But what's really important about this is what really changes is all the different adders and different stuff on the left. This section's easy, right? We're all used to doing that day in and day out. Over here, you actually have different types of options. We've got home utility, right? Homeowner and utility info. You can actually change the homeowner's information, not here specifically, but back over here under the summary. If you change this from like Frank to Franklin or something like that, it'll update dynamically over here on the proposal. We have the utility rates, okay? So make sure you can set your utility rates through here, just like you normally would do, okay? And then you've got your energy consumption. You can either do kilowatt hour, or you can do it by basically by the actual dollar amount if you chose to. So this is actually specifically helpful if you're looking at maybe a PG&E bill, for example, and if you can dissect exactly what the electric portion of that bill is, or maybe SDG&E, same type of thing, you could use that. I usually always go by the kilowatt hour, making sure the rate and everything actually matches up. The equipment selection is here as well. So I usually lead with, the Q cells. Now, something to note here is if you lead with one in terms of the initial design when you log in, okay, it's going to prompt you and basically ask you about what you would like to use. So one of the things that I missed in this orientation right here is when I first do a proposal, it actually takes me into Vision and asks me a couple wizard questions. I'm going to go back and I'm going to find one that we can actually jump through so you can see it from the start. But I wanted to show you something that was kind of pre-done just from a time perspective. But the Q cell, if you go ahead and you select, let's say, one of these types of options here, and you try to switch it, it's going to actually warn you that the selected solar module does not match the actual roof design. And that's okay. That's just to kind of protect you from accidentally switching the actual roof. Now, if you notice there, I actually had a hot link here. So if I clicked the handle Q cell 400s here, right, it actually opened up my module selection. So throughout the proposal tool, you also have these little hot links that you can utilize as well. Okay. Now, so this is very easy. You can select the different types of, module selections, all of that, as well as the inverters. You can select that, right? Switch it up. You've got Enphase, solar, I want to show Solar Edge some love, whatever you want to do. Now, one of the things I want to actually hit on is the mount selection here. And this is important because when you actually go through the initial, hey, I'm requesting the proposal, you're going to be presented with this. Now, this is probably going to be worked out of the product, but right now it actually exists. The one thing I want to hit on is you see this ground mount option. Just because you select that does not mean the adder actually gets selected in the adder selection that I'm going to show you in a bit. I want to hit on that because I myself have made that mistake, and that's a very expensive mistake to show a proposal or sell a proposal without the ground mount adder actually in there, and thinking that just because you selected here, it actually adds it. This is actually to show the designer when you're selecting this. Okay, like I said, when you request a vision proposal, it actually takes you through a little bit of a wizard, just like 3 steps. One of the actions is, hey, mount selection. What would you like? Do you want me to design it on the roof, or do you want to design it on the ground? That's one of the reasons that exists. But I wanted to hit on that, saying just because you select that does not mean it actually added a ground mount adder. Okay. Now you also have storage selection here as well. So depending on the product that you're choosing with the inverter, that'll determine exactly what type of storage that you can actually select. So I switch it back to SolarEdge, for example. Let's just say we do that. And I want to switch it to storage selection. Now all of a sudden SolarEdge shows up. We're working to add more than one battery, because that'll be obviously very very critical in NEM 3.0, but they're going to be working on that. But depending on the type of inverter you have selected determines the type of storage option that you have there as well. So it's very dynamic. All right. All right, system placement and system design. If you don't like where the system actually was, okay, like if you want to move it, that moved it on me. The system design basically just shows exactly where the map got centered. So in this case, the map got centered pretty much in the street. And what I had to do was actually move it. Let me show you this. So if you see this, you got edit design, and then you got this little icon right here with arrows. If you click that, that actually lets you move the actual image based on the satellite image that we actually pulled. And you can zoom in or zoom out on that image. Okay, so then just hit save. And that prevents you from having to cut off roof. So, all right, so that's the equipment selection and storage. The pricing, so this is what I want to hit on. Here's your adder selection. So what's nice about Vision right now is you have an adder selection that's now actually filtered. So you're used to looking at a giant list, and who on the call really got frustrated when you jump between different states or territories and all of a sudden the adders all switch it up on you. You're like, where the heck is my mounting adder versus miscellaneous electrical? Here you actually can select electrical. Oh, I know that they're going to need a 200 amp upgrade. You can check that off. I know from a roofing perspective, he's going to need we need the concrete tile adder. I can go ahead and hit save that, right? These are the different options throughout. And by the way, ground mount, there's the ground mount adder right there. Okay. Do not miss that one. Right next to dirt trenching. You shouldn't miss it, but we all make mistakes. So you'll get different types of actual adders throughout here, like travel, if you need to add additional travel. Rebates, right? Your homeowner rebates are here, your roofing rebates, your energy efficient kits, the warranty for power care. All of that is actually specifically right here in this proposal. So what's nice about that is you can actually just go to all adders and just go ahead and scroll, or you can go line by line in this nice handy filter selection. So which is really cool on the adders. All right. So that's something that's very unique, very easy on the eyes. I think they're going to be working on a way to actually search for adders. So if you're looking for something specific on the fly, I think they're going to be working that in. The system pricing tab is something obviously you should always check. Okay. And this actually will allow you to basically filter and look at your actual selections. So for example, like if we need multiple like array adders, for example, like I trim this back, but if I go ahead and all of a sudden, and by the way, if I hit spacebar, just a little trick here, that actually enables the pan tool. Okay, press spacebar and hold it. If I go ahead and I select, let's say, like a couple different surfaces for this solar system, and I come back to my adders, watch this. Oops, sorry, system pricing. Go back to my system pricing. What Tom just said is multiple array adders automatically show up. Now you can choose to nix that if you think that you want to get a little bit extra margin, right? Or like just a little bit extra leeway. Usually that $300 or $400 isn't enough to make or break it, but you can always trash it if you decide, like, let's say you have an installer that actually doesn't charge for that. And you think that they're going to basically optimize the design into like a different design metric. So that way you don't have to have multiple array adder, like for optimizing it, right? So you'll actually be able to do that as well. So sorry, system pricing. So you'll see you'll have concrete, tile, you'll have all of this here. The big one, here's where your margin is, okay? So after double checking all what you could here, right here in the system pricing, here's where you can actually set your margin, okay? So when you hit save, that actually sets the margin and the price for the system. So if you go back to the system pricing, now you can see what your total cost is, price per watt, right? All of that is set right here. So that's the critical thing to do, is just make sure that you actually have double checked that, okay? Especially if you're dealing with a ground mount. Anyway, any questions on the system pricing and the adder selection before I keep them moving?
I will just say I spent too much time looking for the multiple array adders in the adder selection in the beginning. I was like, where is this? And then I saw that it added it automatically, and I thought that was a very cool feature.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yep. So moving on. So now that you know where to set the margin, right? Here's your incentives. By default, the new customer incentive is on. So if you want to turn that off for your clients, you can go ahead and save, right? You can turn other types of rebates and incentives there. Financing selection, you got a couple different options. You either can choose your financing right in here, or you can scroll down and you actually can just select it there as well. Okay, so it gives you a couple different options. So if you're looking at the price and you want to go ahead and make sure you want to switch it up, right, you can actually select it there. So we actually will switch it based on the type. Like you'll actually see like a nice little drop down on this. Now I'm hoping again we get some type of searchability here, just because you go through like GoodLeap's products and it's like you feel like you're scrolling forever. And then Mosaic, you know, obviously you've got basically an interest rate for every type of length of the product, as well as sunlight, right? But this is where you actually will select the financing, the down payment. That's pretty normalized there. Okay. And now one of my favorite things to do is actually share this. And so what I do in my actual proposals is like, I'll do the proposal, right? As long as they're meeting with me. I traditionally do not email it right away. But what I'll do is I'll actually hit share and I'll copy this link. Now, this proposal is a dynamic proposal. So if you send a customer basically the proposal with a dynamic link, so I put it in a hyperlink, just be prepared that if the pricing changes, right, on the fly, like if we, for example, we got the Q cells and RECs, we got those price drops, all your proposals might actually move down as well, which is good if you want to pass that savings along to the customer. On the flip side of that, that also could work against you as well. So if you quote something and you send it out in a PDF, that's a static image. Now, to me, it's better just to have that conversation like, hey, I double checked the proposal and the pricing actually changed. I said, okay, well, the proposal is very dynamic, Mr. Customer, we need to lock this in, right? And that's something that I like doing, is actually sharing this with the client. Now, this is a very ugly long link, you know, don't do that, just put in a hyperlink. But if you're just like, nah, I'd rather, you know, put it to an actual PDF, we do actually have the PDF option as well. Now, I traditionally will do an export of the PDF and upload it to assets after I sell every single deal, along with like a copy of the solar closing documents, right? But what's really nice about this PDF copy is when you download it, it's like a megabyte. It's no longer like 4 megabytes that what our, you know, the old tool was using, right? The 4 times the size. You're not, if you have a lot of attachments, now all of a sudden your proposal by itself is actually completely has shrunken, which is really, really nice. And it's very, very clean, right? And all of that. Okay. So this is a really, really great, fantastic tool for the PDF side. So if you still want to send PDFs, now the system is the PDF has actually shrunk in size. So you can always do that as well. I prefer to do the share of the link just because then they're like, wow, that's really cool. A side note with sharing a link, however, it's not very geared towards mobile. Okay. And if they have like a tablet, that'll probably work a little bit better. But depending on the size of their mobile device, they won't always see the actual setup of the design of the system. They might have to turn it like actual landscape to actually see the actual system design. But I found most clients are only looking for obviously just the price, what's the savings going to be. They're looking for the core details. The benefit of being able to share this link is if you have financing established. So let's say we chose, I don't know, let's just say I am going to say I want to go to a good lead, like 15-year, 4.99 or something, right? What's nice about this link, okay, is that the qualify actually shows up. So if I share and I copy, and I'm not going to be able to do that. But if I were to open this up in like an incognito tab, which actually I can still do that. That's incognito window. I do incognito tab. Now I'm gonna have to reshare. Anyway, what you could do, let me reshare. How about that? I want to show this and demo it. 1 second. Stop share. Okay. So if the client actually clicks on it, what it does is it looks like it's the same proposal, right? But if you notice, the menu has disappeared on the upper left-hand corner, right? Everything else is the same as what you want to do for them, okay? But what's different is they can actually click qualify here and actually run their own credit. So this works really, really well to close, like send contracts, close deals, or send summaries. And what I try to do is I'm trying to have them run their credit first so that, like, for example, the price matches up versus doing a contract and a week later they end up, obviously running their credit. Obviously things could change because this is a very dynamic proposal. So you don't want to have that happen. So if you want to, just go ahead and have them run their credit specifically from here. But that's the best thing about this, is the ability to actually send something to them and say, hey, yeah, when you're ready to go ahead and run your credit. You get notified that they've ran their credit, and then you can go ahead and spin up contract docs. So sharing the actual link to the proposal accelerates your actual ability to actually increase deals. So this is how I've run a lot more deals just based on this, especially if they haven't been a sit and sign. Okay. So when you're actually ready to send a client a contract, all you have to do is go to the contract status here and under contract signing and hit send. So for example, let's say this one's 206%. I think that's going to be overkill for this customer, but I want to go ahead and back this down for this expansion, because why would I be doing anything else, right? So let's say 146%. All right, let's say, yep, Mr. Customer, I think that's good. We do a 15-year 4.99. Okay, out for that. All right, that all looks good. When I do the contract signing, go to contract status. If I hit send, what you're going to have now is actual history of all your sends. And so this is actually going to initiate the contract send. It's going to send it to me first. Okay. I don't know why it's taking a bit. There we go. So then it went ahead and it sent the actual closing documents to me. Now, the key difference here is that it actually now says Powur Solar Agreement. So if you want to tell the difference between your legacy projects and your new projects, all of them are now the Powur Solar Agreement. Okay. And that actually has things listed on it, such as they're actually working on listing like the main panel upgrades and things like that. Now that the team over at Vision can do that, that actually allows us to actually include specifics about the project, not just miscellaneous electrical. So what you'll notice here is you'll actually have that total cost. So that way, if you're like, oh gosh, what did I send them? What was the original price on that contract? You can actually go back in and actually see the actual historical of those. And it actually will queue off a different, basically a different cost based on and size, depending on what you change or what has changed. So it's very easy to say, okay, did I send them the wrong contract price, or whatever that was. You can actually modify it here, which I really love the historical, because how many times have you jumped into Solo and you're like, did I actually send them a contract? Because you can't really remember, and you have to go back and look at your inbox and say, well, I think I completed it. Let me go ahead and open up the docs and see if I personally signed them. Here you can say, okay, well, I know that I sent the contract. Let me double check to make sure I sent it to myself, and then I had completed that step. So I find that very, very helpful. All right. Any questions on the adders, like over here on the left-hand side, like the whole setup pane?
Jordan, I don't remember. If we select an EV charger, does that show on the proposal?
The EV charger doesn't. However, it does now show up in the contract. So the main panel shows up, the EV charger or EV outlet, those are actually listed in the contract under the actual in the listed gear. So underneath like the panels and the inverters. But I don't think that doesn't show up. The storage, however, shows up. So let me show you that. So check this out. So let's say this customer they're in a high power outage area. So check this out. On the left-hand side, how many times have you been like, say, trust me, Mr. Customer includes a storage system on your solo PDF that you send. Here, it actually lists it.
That is a very nice feature that everybody wanted. That solo could not get done over a year and a half of us asking.
The team got this done. It was just like on their, like on the back, not the back burner, but it was like on the list of items to do. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and add, like Matt asked me, he's like, would you like to have that listed as an option? I said, yes, especially as we're selling more storage. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
You're like, trust me, Mr. Customer. I know this proposal's 20 grand more, but I promise there's a battery on it.
Promise it's not all a margin. Promise I'm not stiff. Yeah. So, all right. So part of the actual proposal itself, just to give you kind of like just a lay of the land here. Obviously, we went over the editing of the design. Very easy stuff. You saw some advanced features in the editing. So if you are an advanced, you want to be able to do it professionally, you can actually do panel placement and roof attributes. On launch, I think it's only going to be panel activation. It's going to be very similar to what you're used to today. But on those of us going through the beta, we basically had access to literally design this ourselves. So if you're especially a pro and you want to be able to do that, I'm sure they can actually open up the ability to edit that for you. Okay. Or allow you to edit, rather, have that option. So getting down to kind of some of the meat, the system production estimate, you can click here just like normal. Like I said, go ahead and outline everything for the actual month to month. I already went over that. You got your percentage. Now, the Power Care slide, oh my gosh, this is amazing having this in. This is the first thing I emailed the team. I said, where's my Power Care slide? Like, where is that listed in this proposal? Like, this should be like the first thing. And what they've actually done, and check this out, and I want to show you this, is if you go to your actual adder selection and you go to warranties and you uncheck it, do you see what just happened? It's gone. It's dynamic. So if you're selling a ground mount and you're like, oh, I don't want to include Power Care because it doesn't make any sense, I want to do like a Solar Edge 25-year warranty, that slide is not included. So now it's very, very dynamic. So you can actually select that and actually go over the Power Care slide. Okay, you basically got obviously this is negative savings because of how I've got it set up here right now, but you actually have that ability there. Now, if you notice this, I'm going to show you this as well. If you go to the financing selection, and we go back to cash, we've now included basically a cash outlet, like what your actual ROI is for this. Obviously, this is a terrible ROI on the system, but it actually shows you that as well. So you're like, Mr. Customer, this is not what you should be doing. Now that gives you that type of outlay, right? So now you've got the do nothing, what you're going to do if you're going solar. This is going to evolve. We've made some tweaks. That's the thing about the team. The team's taken our feedback. In beta, this didn't exist. In beta, this didn't exist. We were like, okay, we need to have the before and after. We need to have a side by side. So everything's going to evolve, and they're going to roll out these types of updates. Okay, but that's the core of the actual presentation, all the way down to, hey, hassle-free process, showing them the types of emails and things that they're going to be receiving. Because everybody asks, how long is this going to take? And you actually can go over the stages. This is actually a very long timeline, but probably getting closer to the reality the further we get into all the permitting that's going on right now for the wave that we have going on. But I'm able to talk to customers about that. Say traditionally it takes 4 to 6 weeks. However, the local cities and jurisdictions are seeing a wave of solar permitting that's coming in. I can talk about each of these steps. So it's very, as you can see that here, it's very easy to tell a different story of this Power, because now we have this entire proposal tool that's completely branded to Power. It gives a different definition of, okay, well, you versus another solar company. Now we actually have this tool that's actually built in-house, which is really, really amazing. There's a carousel here, by the way, just in case you want to go over like a line by line for like how solar actually works for your customers. I know we're about 6 minutes to the top. Let's open up the forum. Let's ask some questions. Ask me some questions.
Yeah, if you guys have some questions, go ahead and raise your chat. Carlos, I do see your hand raised, and then there also is some questions in the chat bar. Really quick, I'll just ask a couple. First of all, Ramsey said solo no mo. I can't agree more, brother. Absolutely. Can Vision help us remember to include an energy hub with a storage product? Does it do that, Jordan?
It doesn't specifically. That's still kind of up to you. However, if you don't include it, obviously, and you sold the battery, you're going to get hit with that later. But you're able to obviously select that option. Something that I've still found, just to be cautious, so like the energy hub, let's say I include that here. If I make a change, because I think Solo did this too, something to watch, and I think we've all seen this, is if you add, and I need to report this honestly as a bug, I think. I don't think it has been, is what I've noticed is the inverter actually still changes here back from an energy hub. So keep an eye on that, because I think that also happened on the legacy tool, but it's just something there. But no, there's no like hard like, hey, by the way, you need to do this, and oh, that's interesting. It actually let me keep end-phase storage there. Ooh, something to watch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you guys realize this has been in beta, right? It's just been launched. We are still working out the bugs, thanks to Jordan, the exterminator Shaw. He's found a lot of them, but this is a work in progress. And we have our own dev team on this, right? As we want improvements, they're open to it. This is our company, right? We're building this together. One suggestion I made to Matt Gordon, I said, hey, is there any way we can list the customer's email address up by their personal information? And he was like, yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't do that. That's a great idea. He's like, let me pass that by. We'll make that happen. Right. So yeah, it is a work in progress. Be patient. That's why we're rolling it out to 3 states at first, and then slowly to the rest of the country. But yeah, great pointing that out. Another question. Is there an expiration date on these proposals? Like Solo's 30 days. Does this one have one?
No, and it's been one of the best things ever. How irritating is that? The customer's ready to go and they sat on it for forever, and you now have to refresh the proposal and redesign and get as close as you possibly can. Nope. You can leave this thing.
Yeah, not only do you have to you had to request a revision, but then they request it with a brand new design. The adders are all completely off, and then you got to spend your time. No more of that, you guys. So that is awesome.
So you can create your own expiration dates with homeowners, right? You don't need one stated on a proposal. You can tell them, this is good for 1 week in an email, in verbally. So you can do that. One other question from Austin: what about roofing? Does it show on the proposal for the customer? And maybe you could also speak to, is there any change with how you get a roofing quote with this?
No, so there's no change with a roofing quote. So if you go to actually under rebates, you'll have a roof work rebate. That's where that still goes. Okay. So you'll actually put roofing under there. Okay. So if this customer needed roofing, you're still going to go to roofing proposal request and still go through the traditional means to get that done. All right. And then you go ahead and you add it in here. Now, the roofing itself isn't listed as a line item like inside the proposal per se, but obviously on the back end when you generate the docs, it should be. But you won't actually see that there listed. But that's how you still would get that done.
And then speaking of roofs, Tracy asked, what slope would you consider a flat roof? Is there up to a specific degree that you would consider a flat roof and using that adder?
The actual roofing adder? We have a flat roof right here. I would say, I don't know about slope, what the slope would be. If it's not a traditional roof line, I usually just throw it in as flat.
Yeah, it's probably, I don't know, 7 degrees or less, 10 degrees or less.
Yeah, so if you look at a flat roof for the mounting adder, the mounting adder for a flat roof, I think puts the arrays at like 10 degrees, at least in SoCal.
Cool. Right on. Thanks for that. How does HVAC fit in here? It doesn't as of yet right now, Ramsey. That'll be coming here soon. So we don't offer 24/7 monitoring. No, not at the moment. That is still coming soon. Does look amazing. Huge grade upgrade over Solo, correct? And it's, yeah, it is, Bruce, good call. It's like if Aurora and Solo had a baby and you had Vision. I like it.
Barry, there's no ambassador slide. Jerry, trees and shading. So when you request a proposal, that's what the design team is modeling, is trees and shading. What's coming is 3D LiDAR modeling eventually with Vision. So
Cool.
that'll be
and
it
then,
for
go
everybody.
ahead. Cool. And then Keith also said, can you add a feature for the cash buyers that tells the buyer when the cash on cash return is on after their tax credit savings are equal to purchase cost forever? One cool thing that I've noticed that they don't really talk about, but if you go to the slide that the scale from beginning to end of it actually shows what their cost for their electricity is, and it does show their when they hit their ROI right here. So you can hover over it and it shows exactly when their return on investment hits.
Excuse me, I just wanted to add to that for your more sophisticated, financially savvy buyers. If they've got cash in the bank, well, up until recently, with CDs at about 1 or 2%, and you can show them that their cash savings on their after-tax dollars that they pay their utility bill with is going to be much better. It'll be like 9 or 10% after-tax return. Only it's getting maybe 1 or 2% out of a CD. So it's tell them to pull it out of the CD and put it in this. It'll last a lot longer.
So I have a, let me show you this real quick. So if you have a fresh proposal, for example, and you want to request a new proposal, you'll go to real time or overnight. Okay. So if I do, like, for example, overnight, like this customer hasn't come back to me yet, it's a neighbor. Once I've filled in the necessary information, go to request Vision overnight. What it does is it opens up another wizard. It launches it. Okay. So give it a second here. So it's going to load this, and this is what shows up first is utility information. Do we know what it is? Yes, it's time of use. It's going to be time of use. Save. Go to energy consumption. You can verify your energy consumption on the next field, right? Which is, I'm just leaving it at 4,000. He sent me his bill, and then it shows you basically get to put in the actual geocode. So how many times have you ever obviously requested a proposal and Solo came back with a completely wrong house or a different location, right? You can actually verify your geocode on that, hit continue, and then select your equipment, for example. So this is where I meant where if you select the module and then you later go back and change it, it says, well, this hasn't been designed to fit with this. Like if you have long E355s and you're trying to put Q-Cell 400s, obviously there's a completely different dimensionally sized modules. So you select that and then you hit save and continue. And what it does is it takes you to the proposal and then it goes over to the queue with the actual proposal team, the Vision proposal team, and it'll come back. So that's how you kick one off. I was just showing you for time perspective what it looks like when it's already come back.
Right on. Good stuff. Well, real quick, before I forgot, Carlos patiently had his hand raised. So we're going to ask a couple questions, then we're going to wrap this up because it is at the top of the hour. And then I will be hosting open office hour for the next half until 11:30. So Carlos, then Natalia, and then we're going to wrap this up. Carlos, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? I got a quick question. What about any customer asks about any kind of equipment that we can add it as off-grid power, like like a transfer switch, all that stuff. If, for example, they want to use it when no electricity coming from the grid will be. Do we have that at our choice? And asking because I'm new on power, but that come into my mind because I know a lot of borrowers or clients, they are educated and they know, they can come up with these questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they want to have power when the grid goes down, that's where batteries come into play, Carlos. And so what I would highly recommend is if you have a client, or you said you're brand new, work with your mentor. They're going to help teach you and educate you about all of this. Also, you can always hop into Knowledge Base on Powur's world-class training platform, where you can learn about batteries and how it works with the solar system. All right, wrapping this up here, Natalia, what do you have for us? Question.
Yes, hey guys, I just have a very basic question. So I ordered the proposal just now and there is no panels there. So do we actually draw our own design, or is it like I'm just have not received the actual design yet?
So you
Or
have
do you have to
Go
actually
ahead, Jordan, if
physically
you want to answer
draw?
that.
Yeah, so you're gonna basically get a message like this when the design's actually complete. So the team, it's gone into the team's queue, and then they're gonna go ahead and actually
Okay.
complete it. So as long as you selected like overnight or real time, one of those two,
Yeah.
it goes into the team's queue for them to actually do the actual design, and then that comes back for you to be able with the actual proposal set up. So what you probably saw me do was I went in kind of expert mode here, and I have the ability to go to panel placement and switch it out, just because that's unlocked on mine. But most everybody's just going to have like a panel activation unless they want to have the additional capabilities. But yeah, don't worry, you're not going to have to do it yourself. You just, the team will do it for you, and they'll try to maximize the actual roof line for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Yep, just be patient. It does come in, and I've noticed, Jordan, I don't know about you, but they come in pretty quick. I mean, I'm usually getting them back sometimes in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Rarely do I
Okay.
have to wait a half hour as of right now.
It's
Yeah.
just in
The
the
roof-
training.
Do the roof
Oh,
planes
in the
show
training-
the azimuth
okay,
and all of
okay.
that currently?
Oh,
The roof, sorry, which
The roof planes, can you see the azimuth and all of that, just like you could on the other ones?
not like you're talking about the array details with like sun hours and stuff.
Well, for instance, if you wanted to transfer this to a PPA or a lease, and you needed to transfer information over.
Not yet.
So how would we get a lease then?
That's under roof. That is under roof attributes, but that comes into shading and some other elements they're working on, kind of having a little bit of a different integration. If you need that level of detail, chances are you need to be able to edit the proposal yourself and put in the roof and the slope and all of that. So that's under an advanced option, but that would probably be the best advice, because I know they're trying to work on an integration with like Sonova, so maybe that'll become a little bit easier. But yeah, you'd have to have the access to actually see all of that dynamically.
So what would
So
we
you
be
don't
able to
have that
do in
access
the
today.
meantime if we needed that right away?
Just use Solo.
Use Solo on that?
Yeah.